Welcome back, everybody, to First Watch, a segment on the Gaffer channel. It's been a minute. I'm sorry it's been so long since I've put out any content. Just been one of those years. But I am looking forward to dropping more and more new content, so I have not given up on this channel, and I hope you haven't either. So, this first episode back for First Watch, I think it's fitting that it be a film that I just saw in theaters literally last night that I've been wanting to see ever since it was mentioned. I've been excited about it. I've been enthralled by it. I've been obsessed with it, to be honest with you. And that is Good Boy by Ben Leonberg. Now, if you don't know, if this is the first you're hearing about Good Boy is essentially a film about a dog named Indy who is the pet of his human companion, Todd. And Indy can pick up on a lot of sinister things that are happening around Todd. And Todd's going through a lot of different things too. Okay? And he finds himself taking a respite out to his grandfather's home, his late grandfather. And that's when things really kick into high gear. And Indy can see all of it, but Todd can't. This entire film is from Indy's point of view. And a lot of people, obviously on the surface, this is very reminiscent of Courage the Cowardly Dog, right? And I'd say, just on the surface level, that that's a good comparison. This is very unique in the horror realm. There's not really, at least I personally can't think of a lot like it. If you can, leave some suggestions down in the comments because I'd love to see some other things that are like it. But in terms of an entire film, horror film from a dog's perspective, it just seems pretty new to me. And it's something that, since watching Courage the Cowardly Dog as a kid, I've wanted to see on the big screen or come to the big screen. So I was really excited about this movie. Right out of the gate, I want to address something that you may be wondering. I know I was actively searching for it, and it may be a spoiler that you welcome, but it is a spoiler. So obviously I'm going to give that disclaimer ahead of time. This is a spoiler, and that is an answer to the question of, does the dog die? Okay? I'm going to answer that for you right now. And the answer is no. The dog does not die. And one of the things I will say, however, because really the basis of that question is our sensitivities to animals. Animals in general, at least for me, animals in general, but especially dogs and our pets. So I think the underlying feeling behind that question, does the dog die? I think another piece of that is, what all does this dog go through, right? Because we also don't want to see dog abuse, clearly. And so let me answer that for you as well. There's not dog abuse, but the dog does go through some very tumultuous things. Not going to sugarcoat it. The dog does go through very dark situations, scary situations. The dog obviously whimpers at times. So some moments can be kind of tough. But the dog does not die. And I think you can rest easy on that. 1,000%, I can tell you that. So, additionally, director Ben Leonberg has stated that Indy, who is his dog, by the way, and that's the dog's actual name, Indy. So the dog is named Indy, and his character in the movie is Indy. Leonberg has stated that Indy didn't even know he was in a film. So that should also give you a little bit of solace on this, because Leonberg is pretty straightforward on Indy wasn't really ever frightened. He didn't even know he was in a film. All right. This took 400 days of shoots over 3 years to film, which is insane. One shoot a day might encompass all of about 11 seconds. Leonberg talked about that. So it was done in small increments, and he loves his dog. I'll put it that way. All right? And they have a wonderful, wonderful, wonderful relationship that I think we can all relate to. So, get that out of the way right out of the gate. Let's talk about why this movie might be for you. I'll tell you my top 3 things. Number 1, Indy's performance. I think Indy did an incredible job. Extremely emotive, but there's a reason for that. That leads into my number 2, which is camera techniques. I think the way the camera moves, the way it sets up certain shots is incredible. Especially certain instances where you get this like wide angle shot upstairs where Indy is at the top of the steps, and it makes him feel very small, which gives you that eerie, sinister feeling, right? So the camera is absolutely utilized to really get that scary effect across, which is very interesting to watch take place. The way that they've done that. Additionally, there's a certain effect that was utilized in this movie known as the Kuleshov effect. What is that? The Kuleshov effect, the best way to describe it is, imagine you're looking at a shot of an actor's face, whether it be human or dog, and you get the shot of the actor's face, and then it cuts to the next shot, and that shot is a bowl of soup, right? And then it cuts back to that actor's face. The actor's face may not have changed at all, and it might not have even been that emotive. But because you were shown in between that shot of the soup, immediately you as an audience member are able to assign what that actor is feeling or going through. So in this instance, hunger, right? Now let's say you take that same shot of that actor's face, and instead of the soup, the next shot is a coffin. And then the next shot is back to the actor's face. Well, now you as an audience member are associating the shot of the actor's face with them feeling grief, depression, sadness. That's the Kuleshov effect, okay? In a nutshell. Ben Leonberg uses that a ton in this movie with Indy. And again, this is entirely from Indy's perspective. All right? So this is not back and forth. This is 1,000% a film from Indy's perspective, what Indy is going through. The third reason this might be for you is I really enjoyed the way that Ben played on reality, but also the dream world. There are instances of Indy dreaming, which in this situation, nightmare. And I think that's incredibly relatable, right? How many of us have watched our dog sleep, and noticed that dog twitch or maybe have a quieter, muffled kind of bark, and you're immediately wondering, what's that dog dreaming about, right? Is it a dream? Is it a nightmare? So that's played on in this film. But then he does something else, and that is this blend between reality and dream, where Indy is in reality, but something's a bit off, okay? And I think that's really playing on a dog trying to perceive and fully grasp what it's seeing and what it's going through, trying to process things. So I really appreciated that aspect to this film. 3 reasons why this film might not be for you. Number 1, the human acting. It felt a little flat for me a lot of the time. And even sometimes melodramatic. Maybe that's the term I would use for it. And while this is, like I said, a film entirely from Indy's perspective, so a lot of that can be forgiven, I still think you could have done a better job than what was done on that. So ultimately that caused me to detract a point from this movie in my overall rating. Number 2, special effects and graphics. If that's something that's really big for you and you can't get past that, there's going to be instances in this movie that you're probably not going to like. And that's just, for me, I can look past that because this is an independent film. There's not a lot. I guarantee you the budget was not high for this movie. The crew is not large. There's just not, they don't have everything at their disposal to play with on this. So there are instances where you can tell CGI in some form or fashion's used for the special effects. It's noticeable. For me, I can look past that, but if that's something you're really, really sensitive to, then you're probably not going to like that. However, I do think Ben knows how to utilize the shadows to his advantage, which is incredible considering it tells me he knew, listen, I know this is low budget. I know this is an indie film. Let me use the natural things around me to my advantage. That's a filmmaker that knows what they're doing. So that's the opposite side of that coin. Number 3, some reviewers, critics have mentioned that the scares seem repetitive and that the middle part of this film feels like it drags, partially because the scares seem repetitive. Again, that wasn't something that I really noticed. It wasn't something that bothered me. I think that the movie was just fine that way. I do see it. I do see where they'd pick up on that, and I'm not taking anything away from that criticism. It didn't impact me that way. So it may impact you that way, but there are some repetitive things in it, but there's also some really good jump scares. So ultimately, I don't think that it really destroyed this film. So who is this film for? I think the obvious answer to that would be horror fans. But more importantly, I can maybe see if you're a fan of horror, but even more so maybe like found footage horror, you might like this. It's not really a found footage film, but I can see where there's certain aspects to it like that. Additionally, other films that I think maybe inspired a little bit of this movie, at least I can see them in this movie. Paranormal Activity, that franchise, I can absolutely see it in this film. Amityville, the 1979 version, really specifically, which had a lot of haunted house moments with it. It played a lot more on natural effects, I feel like, than some of the latter versions of Amityville. The creaks, the shadows, that kind of thing. I can definitely see where that would be some, inspiration for this movie. The Shining, 1980, Stanley Kubrick, Jack Nicholson. There is an element to this film where Todd kind of slowly is maybe transforming and descending a little bit into a darker side. So I can somewhat loosely see maybe The Shining in this. And then Poltergeist, 1982. I mean, that was the inspiration for this movie. Ben Leonberg has been very clear that this movie was inspired by Poltergeist, and specifically the dog in Poltergeist that can pick up on some sinister things happening in that home that the humans can't. So I definitely see Poltergeist inspiration in this movie, and not just in the dog aspect. There's other little things Ben does in this movie that pay a little homage to Poltergeist. And you'll notice them when you see them if you're a Poltergeist fan. So, some fun facts about this movie. First of all, I want to tell you, stay through the credits. Stay through the credits. This trend started, probably the most well-known instance at least is Marvel, where there's something at the end credits. No different here. Stay through the credits. You're going to want to see it. I promise it's worth it. I'm not going to tell you what it is, but, well, you know what? It doesn't really have an impact on spoiling the film in any way. So, essentially, it's an instance where Ben is with Indy, and he's thanking you for coming to the movie, but he goes in depth on the filmmaking process for this movie. And I think it's reassuring as an audience member to see after watching Indy go through all the things that he's gone through in this movie. I think it'll help reassure you a little bit to feel better about it, about at least the filming of it. So stay through the end. You're not going to want to miss it. It's pretty incredible. There's a deep discussion on the Kuleshov effect, even more so than what I've talked about. It's just, you want to be there for it. And it's a trend that's kind of been going now for a minute, right? It's a trend I've noticed since at least Ryan Coogler with Sinners, where the filmmaker really goes in depth on how they made the movie and why they did certain things that they did. And I think that's so important. And it shows an investment from that filmmaker in future filmmakers and inspiring the next generation, right? And that's incredible to see. And I'm so glad films are doing that kind of thing now. It really gives back to the audience. So, stay through the credits. I already went over that this took 400 days over 3 years to shoot, so I won't belabor that point. And I also went over the fact that Indy belongs to the director. It's the director's dog. And Todd in the film, at least the person in the film, is Ben Leonberg. The voice, I believe, is a different voice actor, but the actual body is Ben Leonberg. That's my understanding, at least. And that's because how are you going to get your dog to react to other people the way that that dog is going to react to you, right? If you want the best performance, it's got to be you. So that's why they went that route. Rotten Tomatoes currently has this at a 92%. It's certified fresh already. Popcorn Meter, the audience score essentially, is 87%. It is not certified hot at the moment. And you know what? It may not get there. It may not get there. This might not land for the audience the way that it did with critics. And so I could see a scenario where that happens. IMDb, 6.5 out of 10. There's an example. IMDb typically is more of that audience score. Letterboxd, it's a 3.2 out of 5, which essentially comes to that 6.5 out of 10. For me, personally, this is a 9 out of 10. I think this is an exceptional film. And I'm going to go in depth on why here in just a second. So likely spoilers ahead. But I'll let you know when those spoilers are coming. Before we do that, though, I do want to talk a little bit about budget because I do enjoy talking about that. I think it reflects the success or failure of a film, a little bit at least. Gives us a glimpse at it. The budget, there's not anything known about it. At least I couldn't find anything. If you find something on it, please drop it in the comments below. As of this moment, I haven't seen anything about the budget. I have to believe that it's low. Okay? This is an independent film. Not a lot went into it. There wasn't a massive crew. I have to believe that the budget was lower. That being said, thenumbers.com, which, by the way, if you haven't been to that website, please go there. the-numbers.com. Incredible website. I have to give them a shout out. They've got amazing data related to box office metrics historically for domestic, international, and then global, which is domestic and international, for pretty much any film that you can think of. And you can even build reports in there where you can compare that film to another film. So it's a really, really good website, and it can be a little costly. If I'm a data analyst, so I'm always looking to find ways that I can connect maybe to an API or export data out that I can then build reports myself and analyze. It's a little costly, but here's the thing I'm going to tell you. Their team have been incredible to work with and communicate back and forth with in terms of getting that kind of thing set up, and they're willing to work with you. So, be on the lookout. Potentially, I may invest in being able to connect to their data, obviously giving them all credit in future reviews, because I think we could have a lot of fun on this channel with that. So, anyway, I can't give them a big enough shout out. Thenumbers.com. If you haven't seen it, go there and check it out. It's well worth it. They do have a projection for Good Boy. And that projection, it looks like it's based really on other IFC films that are kind of similar. Late Night with the Devil, I think, is one of the ones that they used to build out some form of prediction for what this film could do. The prediction for its opening weekend is 1.8 essentially million, and then in total 3.3 million at the box office, which, like I said, I got to believe the budget's pretty low. So if that's the case, 1.8 opening and 3.3 total would be incredible, I think, for this movie. So stay tuned. Maybe I'll drop some stuff on Threads, which, by the way, I'm also on Threads, y'all. So look up The Gaffer on Threads. I post on there. I also post box office metrics utilizing thenumbers.com, and those are inflation adjusted, which is important because I think that other accounts are posting things and they're not adjusting for inflation, which has to happen. You cannot make an accurate comparison if you are not adjusting for inflation. So that's all I'll say there. So again, I give this movie a 9 out of 10. And let's go into my review, okay? Because I think that obviously reviews are picking up on the obvious stuff with this movie, the sinister aspect of, a dog protecting its owner and the relationship between dog and owner. I think that's really the surface message in this movie. I think the real message of this And there's really, honestly, there's no way that I can give you my review on this without potentially spoiling. So I'm going to go ahead and pop up the spoiler alert. So if you're planning to go see this movie, maybe pause this review now and then come back to it and see what I said. But spoiler alert, okay? From here on out. I think the real meaning of this film, for a while now, and I still don't think anybody has done this successfully, for a while now, I've been wanting a movie that adequately depicted the grieving process that a human goes through when they lose their pet. And I lost my dog 2 years ago. And it's like losing a piece of you. There's nothing like that grief. Period. It was rough. It's still rough. It's still something I deal with. And I haven't seen a movie quite depict that yet. So I'm waiting on that. Any filmmakers out there, if you're watching this, I'm waiting on that movie to be made. You know, there's Marley and Me, but I'm talking about something that really focuses in on the grieving process. So I haven't seen that yet. This movie kind of flips that switch a bit. And it's more of, what is it like for the dog? What is it like for a dog that loses the one it cares about the most? What does that feel like? What does that grieving process look like? The processing, the seclusion of it, the alienation of it, you know, that feeling of being alone. This film, I think, is very much so about that. I said at the top of this video that Todd in the movie is going through some things. And physically, it appears that Todd is going through, it seems like cancer, and cancer that has gone too far, right? There's nothing the doctors can do. And it seems like maybe it's probably spread. And it's slowly killing Todd. And I think the monster in this isn't necessarily some sinister demonic thing. This shadow figure. I mean, a shadow figure it is, but this monster per se, I think the monster in this is death. That's what I think. And I think that it's about Indy trying to process what's happening to his owner. This slow dying that's occurring and the side effects that Indy is witnessing and how gruesome and dark that is. Because like I said, remember this film, it's completely from Indy's perspective. This is not from a human perspective. So everything that we are seeing is how Indy perceives it. I think this is about Indy grappling with and processing his owner dying and how scary it is. Because the ultimate nightmare for a dog would probably be losing its owner. And so I think that that's what we're seeing. I think that's really the monster and the shadows and all of it. And the reason that I say that is that it comes full circle in the end. When, and again, I've said spoiler numerous times. I've kept the spoiler alert icon up on the screen purposely. If you've watched it this far and you have a problem with what I'm about to say, you've brought this on yourself. There is a scene where Todd realizes he's no longer alive. It's out of body. He thinks that he's comforting Indy, and Indy's reacting to him because Indy can perceive that realm. But he's died. And you see that. And that's when things really amp up. That's when Todd gets drugged down into the basement. Indy runs down to the basement. Door shuts before he can get there. He runs down to the cellar. Literally, at this point, I'm going through the end because hopefully, if you're watching this right now, you've watched this movie. So don't be offended or take up arms against me for spoiling this, because you should not be watching this if you're not wanting to discuss the ending. He gets drugged down into the basement. Indy, the door's shut on him. He's drugged down, by the way, by a chain that earlier in the film was attached to Indy's collar. And that chain, I think, is imagery reflecting how we are all tethered to death. It's something we're all going to have to grapple with, right? There's no way around that. And so that's the imagery of it. And he's drugged down. He's drugged into the basement. I've said this numerous times. Indy he's not able to get down there to him quick enough. So Indy runs to the cellar, and he runs down into the cellar, and there's this, it almost looks like a den or a cave. And you can hear Todd screaming in the shadows of that. And Indy immediately rushes in after him. And we, the audience, are left there just in that room, in this cellar, essentially. And then Indy comes out with him, dragging him out, saving him. Audience is pumped. And then, of course, here comes that figure, right? Covered in mud. And as that figure gets closer, the mud goes up Todd's hands, up his arms, takes him over. And you think, as an audience member, because I think we've been programmed of this in horror, that this thing has taken him over and essentially possessed him. But not quite. Right? Because the last line is essentially him looking at Indy and saying, "You are a good dog, but you can't save me." And then he's drugged out of the shot. And Indy's left by himself. And now Indy is grappling with loss. That's why critics and reviewers said this is one of the most heartbreaking films of the year. That's why they're saying that. Not because the dog dies. It's because of what the dog has to grapple with. It's because of what Indy has to process. The grief. So then obviously he's okay, right? He's saved by Todd's sister and taken out of this house. But I think that's the discussion. And the reason I had to walk through all those shots and those scenes is because that's my evidence of why I feel the way I do about what this film's really about. So, again, I've always been big on not spoiling a movie. And that's why I said over and over and over, spoilers ahead, spoilers ahead, spoilers ahead. So if you leave me comments about I've spoiled it for you, you have done that to yourself. To quote Obi-Wan, you have done that yourself. So I have no sympathy. So that's Good Boy. That's my review of Good Boy. Tell me what you thought about it. Tell me if you liked it. Give me your rating, 1 to 10 on that scale, how you would rank it. And if you can think of other films like it, leave that in the comments below too. I would love to add to my list of things I need to see. I know I haven't seen everything, so I'm always looking for recommendations. Before I end this by giving you the trailer to Good Boy, I do want to just let you know where the channel is headed, where I see it headed at least. As long as I can get back in this groove. More First Watch reviews coming, more in memoriams coming, more first glimpses, or real glimpse, I believe is the name for it, my segment. I think I should know that, right? It's been that long since I've done anything. So more of those where I give you my top 10 films based on trailers I've seen that are upcoming, and a projection of what I think I'll rate them. And then, obviously, my end-of-year ranking of the films I saw in theaters in 2025. I'm really excited to do that. I think I really enjoyed doing it last year, so we're going to do it again. And I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you took something from it. So, that's upcoming. I keep talking about Disney. I do want to do that list. I got a lot of lists, y'all, that I really want to do. I honestly, in this downtime I've had where I haven't been doing reviews, I did a list on zombie films. So I may do that since that list's already been created. Give you my thoughts on those, especially since we're in October. So just stay tuned and tell me what you'd like to see. Leave me comments on what you'd like to see, films you'd like to see reviewed, lists you'd like to see done. I'm open to anything and everything. And as always, thank you so much for watching these videos, taking the time. I know they're a little longer. If you're like me, I really just can't get enough of people talking about movies, their feelings about movies, seeing if they reflect my own. Hopefully that does that for you, and hopefully maybe you pick up on some new things that you didn't think about. So, but thank you again so much for it. Like, subscribe, turn alerts on for when new videos are released. I would absolutely love for you to follow me on Threads. I'm going to be honest with y'all. I started channels or accounts on Instagram and Facebook. I don't know that I'm really going to be on Facebook a lot. Me personally, my subjective opinion is that Facebook's kind of a dumpster fire. And so I may not get on Facebook. So it may end up being just an Instagram and Threads thing, but I'm really active on Threads, y'all. So feel free to follow me on there. So thank you so much. I really enjoy getting to do these. Really appreciate you watching them. And without further ado, here is the trailer for Good Boy. Thanks again.
Look who's here!
I guess I'm next. I should never have come here.